Welcome to the monthly AMA. I'm your host, Sijbrandij, co-founder and CEO of GitLab. And Joe has the first question. Joe Dumtra, thank you very
Yep.
much. You want to verbalize it?
Yeah, certainly. So I was hoping you could tell us about your first American Thanksgiving experience. What were your thoughts about the experience, and of course, the food?
Yeah. There's a bit of a tradition in our friends group to also do a Friendsgiving and to invite friends. So that's a great one. One of the first ones and the most memorable ones was at a goat farm and in the beautiful Sonoma County. I think so. Maybe closer to the coast, but in the middle of nowhere. And it was very fun to just be around the goats. And it had a hot tub. It was very chill. Yeah, you overeat during Thanksgiving. The turkey, the reviews are mixed most of the time. I love turkey and I love cranberry sauce. So I'm in a good spot. Thanks for asking. And for everyone here, you're in the US or celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you have a wonderful time. Amanda.
Hey, Sid. I was just wondering if you think the recent shakeup in leadership at OpenAI will affect the direction of AI at all in the marketplace.
Yeah, was certainly spectacular to see what happened. The net effect now is that a couple of people resigned from the board and a couple of new people are brought in. That board has a big duty ahead of them to safeguard the development of AI, which is super tough. I'm not sure the board is in a better or worse position now. It's kind of, I know too little. I think it's going to be increased scrutiny from the world on the role of that board and what they do. And I think the incoming two board members are super competent people. So that's all I can say about it, I think. Joe.
Yeah, so I've been hearing a lot about internal or integrated developer portals, platforms like Backstage and Cortex. So curious how you're looking at them in a general sense. Are they actually of value to developers and their workflows? And then I should say more specifically, in the context, are they complementary to what we do and what we deliver, or competitive?
I think they are competitive. I think GitLab should be a superset of what these integrated developer portals are. And I know there's a certain roadmap items we're looking at to add some of the functionality, but I think a lot of the times where these developer portals are most useful is if they haven't standardized on a DevOps platform. If you have a DevOps platform, there's already a good catalog of all the projects you have, but there is functionality we can add to GitLab to be even more comprehensive. Maybe someone who can find that can link it in the agenda. Omar.
So much has been said about AI eliminating jobs and the need to consider other options like universal basic income to keep economies rolling. Have you thought about this? How do you see this actually playing out in terms of how and when corporations and governments could be incentivized to make a move towards such a system?
Great question. Super complex matter. Certainly not settled, and I'm trying to keep an open mind about it. I do think it's likely that AI will make income differences more extreme, and to make sure that everyone reaches a certain standard of living. I think something like basic income makes a lot of sense. I was surprised to learn that kind of very smart people like Mark Andreessen from A16Z is not a fan of basic income. If you look at their website, they have quite a strong negative opinion of it. Basic income is the most kind of extreme version of something you can also do in other ways. For example, the child tax credit and things like that in the US have been quite successful in combating poverty. But it's a model that warrants more research. And I've on a personal title donated to Open Research, who've done the most comprehensive study to date, and they're working on getting kind of conclusions from their data as we speak. And I talked with Elizabeth earlier this week, who's leading that. Thanks for the question, Ming.
Oh, Seth, I'm still new here, so I'm just have a question here. Maybe somebody asked before. Just consider, Microsoft pretty much owns Windows, Office, OpenAI, GitHub, Power BI, Azure. Pretty much everything affect our life. So, what do you think about like GitLab 10 years? Are we going to follow the GitHub pattern, design Microsoft, or are we going to do something different?
Yeah, we're doing something different. Namely, we're an independent player. We're not bound to one of the hyperclouds. We think that's a really attractive proposition. And as for where the product is in 10 years, our ideas are on our vision page. Most important thing we're focusing on the next 3 years is to make sure our DevSecOps platform is very comprehensive, including all the AI functionality. But we also want to make sure that GitLab is used to not just make the procedural code, but also train the models. I think any complex application or any significant application in the future is going to be a mix of procedural code and trained models. We want both to happen in GitLab. And then we want to close the loop with the end user through service desk-like functionality like Zendesk or Jira Service Desk. But for next 3 years, this is our main focus, although also working on our model registry, which you can expect in the near future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for asking. Amanda.
Yeah, so I wanted to know for the upcoming summit if there's any unconference sessions that have caught your eye that you're excited about, and any that you plan to attend personally.
Ooh, that's a great question. I know that Chris had a few sessions, our sales leader. I'm excited about those. And I like that the variety is there. They go all the way from kind of learning new skills to business, like super day-to-day work related, to more like thinking about your work and kind of preventing burnout, to keeping your motivation up and career paths, to kind of hobbies that people like. I love the variety in that. Anybody who wants to talk about one of the sessions they're doing? Amanda, are you planning to do a session?
Yeah, I'm not professing to be an expert, but I wanted to lead a conversation about tips to being a good mentor and mentee, how to make that relationship successful.
That's great. That's a great subject. Thanks for contributing that. And the idea is a conversation about something. You don't have to be an expert. You're not presenting. You're just thinking of a subject to discuss. Christopher, you want to talk about your session?
Yeah. I'm really excited to have one on spirituality. It's something that I think impacts us in complex and profound ways, and just love to have a group to discuss different views on it and people's different paths. So looking forward to that one.
Awesome. Thanks for contributing that. I'm also excited that we're past the halfway point on discussion sessions. I think we have 150 plus on 300 that we need. So, but if you have something you'd like to talk about with colleagues, please submit an issue. It would be great. Maybe someone can post a URL to submit in the chat. Tim.
Yes, I'm curious. Do you have a definition of what it means to you that everyone can contribute? And are there any examples of things that are not matching that definition that you feel are characterized as everyone can contribute?
Oh, what is like advertised as everyone can contribute, but not really like that?
Exactly.
Two things come to mind. Well, three things. I'm going to talk about three things. First of all, our code base, like contributing to that is pretty complex because kind of setting up the GitLab development kit and then submitting something is quite complex and it's a big code base to understand. And then we take a while to respond to external people making a suggestion. Although there's a lot of focus on doing that better. So there's also a lot of kind of good vibes, but it's not trivial, that's for sure. We have a lot of our handbook online, but we get very few external contributions to it. Maybe that's to be expected, but I somehow had kind of higher hopes for external contributions, but it's pretty hard to contribute to an organization you don't know. And there's also not a big incentive to do so. So that was smaller than I expected. I forgot what my last point was. What comes to mind for you?
One thing that I've thought a lot about is a merge request where you don't have approval rights, giving the user the ability to contribute, or is the ability for somebody to leave a comment somewhere the ability to contribute. And what I feel like is that the healthy medium for me is giving the user the ability to make the change and only requiring at most an approval from someone else. So a suggestion on what to change is not giving them the ability to contribute.
Yeah, I see it as like if you have Google Docs, you can leave a comment or you can give a suggestion. And I think the comment is like below the line for everyone can contribute. And I think the suggestion is above the line that it then has to be approved by someone else. So be it. Is that also where you're at?
Exactly. Yep.
Cool. Amanda. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
No, you're good. It's all you, Amanda.
All right. This is my last question today, Sid. Sorry. I was just thinking about the 3-year vision that you shared when you shared your screen. And one of I think it was the last bullet, talked about service desk being a priority. And I'm wondering if that's still viable given the recent shift in product priorities with the Respond group.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So this is our 10-year vision. But for the next 3 years, we have our company strategy, and that's all about the DevSecOps platform. Like we're far from done. We got a lot to do there. And then we're already kind of modestly starting with model ops. We're almost doing nothing in service desk. That's because 10 years is a very, very long time. So service desk, if the plan unfolds as we expect, but we'll update the vision every like 3 years-ish. But if it unfolds as we now expect, it's going to be back-end loaded. It's going to be in the back end of those 10 years that we'll spend most time there. So almost all of the effort on DevSecOps, a little bit of effort on model ops, and currently very little effort on service desk. You've observed that correctly, and thanks for saying that. And maybe it's a bit confusing because all three are here. It almost seems that it's equal weight, which it clearly isn't.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Christopher.
Yeah. Hey Sid, I used to be on the Ansible engineering team and I sat next to the community architect. And one of the things that he shared with me is that like 90% of Ansible was community built, and it was because they created a core engine that other people could create modules. And then the module was like a small Python script that would like create a directory that would like talk to AWS and get a server. And because it was so easy to create a module, it's just like a 200-line script that it was very easy for people to contribute to. So I was just wondering, like, have we ever thought about like modularity in GitLab's design to contribute to like for community contributions? So obviously, like his basic point was that as you design the code, you can actually design it in a way so that it's easier for people to contribute. And I was just wondering if we ever thought about that, either like marketplace plugins or like, modularity in general.
Yeah, I think we spent a lot of time thinking about that. There is, I think, also an initiative to kind of split the application up in different Rails engines, but I don't think that's actively
I'm about to drop that link in there, Sid.
Sorry, Chad?
I'm about to drop the link. Here
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. I'm not sure that's super active at the moment.
There's a couple of people working on it, and yeah, engines actually is not what we're using, but it's definitely has the potential to provide a lot of benefits in a lot of areas, including like merge request time, CI efficiency, tons of things.
I think for Ansible and Terraform, it's a very obvious like where the core engine ends and the functionality starts. I think we're trying to do that with the global CI catalog that we're working on. I think that's clearly something where you kind of have these CI script steps that you can reuse. I think that would be the closest equivalent. I think making GitLab itself completely plugin based, I think there's short-term benefits, but long-term, the maintainability starts getting pretty hard. You get kind of what you have now with, for example, Jenkins, where you're locked into a design and it becomes hard for customers to upgrade because the plugins conflict with one each other. You'd almost have to kind of backtest every change with all plugin combinations, which is very hard to do effectively.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chad, thanks for linking that. Chad, you want to elaborate on the modular monolith?
Yeah, and to be blunt, like you wrote a few articles a while back about, we want to have a monolith and we want a well-structured monolith. But the unfortunate fact is the way DHH designed Rails, although it's convention over configuration, it does not lend itself. There's no conventions to have a well-structured monolith with clear domain boundaries and bounded contexts, especially once you pass 2 million lines of code, as GitLab has. And there's a lot of negative impacts due to us not having clearly defined domain boundaries. And basically, we have a big ball of mud in many ways. And so there's modern approaches that are coming out, especially by my friend Stephen Hagerman, who wrote his second book on this. And I'm working with Fabio on that blueprint and also coordinating with Stephen and hopefully bringing him in possibly to help us out on this effort to start to introduce some of these boundaries, which, as I said, can provide us a lot of benefits. For example, what is the real benefit of this? Because it's a tremendous amount of work to change all of this, but you can imagine faster MR review times because the blast radius is contained. Like you can programmatically prove that this MR only touches this area of this code and this area of code is completely decoupled from everything else. Therefore, I can only run, a minimal subset of CI tests and ensure that it's much less risk to deploy, things like that, as well as easier cognitive load, like we discussed many of other things. Obviously, it's something that I would love to work more on in my free time when I'm not working on features, and I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you for the explanation.
Thanks, Chad. And Crystal, you had an addition to something we discussed earlier, the ability to contribute to the handbook.
Yeah, sure. I liked this question from Tim, and it reminded me, I often talk to customers that tell us how much they love our handbook and that they have taken that and built their company based on a handbook methodology. They've tried to do exactly what we do there. And I think this is an example of everyone can contribute. It's not internally to our handbook, but they are contributing to our values by implementing that within their company. And while it's maybe a little bit more difficult to measure, I think it's pretty incredible.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that.